I wasn't working at the time. And I wondered, okay, I want to die. How do I do that? And I think an answer can be found when we devote our time to God, our time to study God. And this is just a suggestion. Take it with a grain of salt. We can, for every hour you study, for every 60 minutes you study, just set aside 6 minutes. Study something of God. It could be the Bible. It could be theology, what we do, suicide, something on prayer. And I think that intentional setting aside of time can be our way of expressing all that we really have is from God. The second suggestion is the idea of the Sabbath. And here, I want to tell you a brief story. This is true. I'm not saying this will work this way for everybody, but so my final year at Northwestern, I had this idea of the Sabbath. I read in the Old Testament and even the New Testament this idea of a day of rest of the Lord where you weren't supposed to do any work. And now, I'm not like a Seventh-day Adventist where you can't do anything or you only have 39 packs in your schedule because having 40 would mean you're doing unnecessary work on your foot. I'm not that nitpicky, but I just wanted to see, like, okay, what would it mean for a student to practice the Sabbath? And so, every Saturday, for that last year, I said, I am not going to do any schoolwork. I'm just not going to do it. And it was a lot harder than you think, really. I mean, it's like, oh, wow, I get a day off. But literally, as I'm walking out that day, and something happens when you set a day to give yourself, set a day off. The night before, you're kind of like cramming for it, or like afterwards, remember when I have lots of stuff to do. But at least, like, okay, I got a day off. I try to have a day off. So imagine this mental tension that's going through. Lots of stuff to do. And then you walk outside, it's really nice, you feel great like the first 10 minutes, and then you realize there's nobody around because everyone's in the library. And then you're like, well, I want to hang out with my friends on the day that I have off. I was like, oh, my friends are in the library. So I can go cheer them up maybe, and then you realize as you're studying, you feel bad about yourself. I think something I learned that year. And by the way, my grades ended up being quite amazing that last year. I don't know if necessarily do that Sabbath, but you should try it. Tell me how it goes. But I think something about taking a rest from your work and that anxiety that I felt about studying and about trying to get things done revealed something about my character and my attitude towards academia. And it's not, I found that it wasn't just not doing things that I needed a day off for. It was kind of that inner hush that I needed. I needed that tension in my mind to say, oh, you could be doing work, I'm much more productive. And you're wasting time. I need the stillness of that. And I think the Sabbath, taking a day off and intentionally do that, reminds us of who we are outside of ourselves. So that we can be more alive students. I think this can also come through a kind of community too. Spending time with God and with one another in ways that strengthen and renew. I think like that song that we sang earlier, who am I? That question, we ought to ask ourselves, maybe once a week, maybe at least a month. And so maybe I'm suggesting you don't have to do it every week, but once a month, just take the time off, like, really, aside from studying, aside from all these grades, who am I? Who am I? And to find that inner renewal, that inner hush, stillness, I think can do amazing things. Another way of thinking about the Sabbath is from this Old Testament scholar. I love this idea. He said, just as God took the seventh day off, we can take the seventh day off as a means of appreciating all that's been created, and a means of going back to when the earth was full really, what kind of person am I becoming being at North Western? Where are my studies taking me? And this, I think that time can also be used to think about some of the great things that Philippians 4:8 brings out, which I'll read you here. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And sometimes, I'm not sure if you have a space to do that. Or maybe setting aside a time where you can may help us to find that life and that vigor in our space. And believe it or not, that phrase, whatever is true, is actually the motto for Northwestern. I think the seal is up there. You grab the seal. Yep, cool. This is a very familiar thing. It says, "Que cumuli sum spera," which translates from Latin, whatsoever things are true. And it was actually adopted in like 1890. And in the inner part, there's actually a Bible that says right there, it's in the Greek, logos, clarios, aletheia, which means the word full of grace and truth. And we may have stepped far away from that scriptural reality that Northwestern was founded on, but I think something about whatsoever things are true, think about such things. And I think something in our mission, we have that space to think. So, in concluding, all I offer in the past half hour is my humble and very imperfect reflection on studying, or at least practices of studying in a Christian way. Learning to live, learning in community, and learning to die are all very fancy, neat ways of saying something in reality that has many bumps, and cracks. I said humility first in the present, and now I'll close with this illustration. I was asking my professor about this particular topic. How do we do Christian thinking? How do we do Christian study? Is there a way to do Christian student learning? And he humbled me and put all this in perspective for me that in Wheaton, kind of like the Harvard of Christian schools, the professors that are hired have to go through 2 years of rethinking all that they've learned from their PhD, from their master's levels to their bachelor's studies, and putting it in a Christian worldview, which is a part of what you guys are doing here. It takes those professors 2 years to rethink that. Because they got those PhDs and masters from universities that weren't Christian. And even those that were they really thinking how to teach that from a Christian perspective? And I think this should encourage us that we are not alone in our struggles to find the connections between academia and the cross and our person. For me, the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus has often oscillated between being boring and commonplace to mind-blowing. But I'm finding that the gospel has yet to unfold in many areas of my life, in all its mysterious and powerful ways. And as my final encouragement and testament this evening, I hope that in this Good Friday, you find yourself on the verge